Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Eric and I like to read, and today I'm going to be recommending books to Love is Blind Season 3 cast members. So I'm sure a lot of you have been watching Love is Blind Season 3. It just came out last week, and we have only 4 episodes so far. So we have not actually delved into the entire season, and we don't know what's going to happen fully yet.
Hey guys, editing Eric here. So I just wanted to jump in and say that if you have not watched all of the episodes yet, there may be some spoilers in this video. I do go into the couples and who makes it past the pods. I don't say who's with who, but I do go into the main characters that are going to be the main focus of the show. So if you don't want to know that, then maybe don't watch this video. But if you've already watched and know this stuff, then perfect. I hope you enjoy.
But based on these initial viewings and our introduction to our cast, who are going to be the 5 main couples throughout the season, I wanted to recommend them books based on how they kind of interacted in the pods and based on who they kind of just seemed like as personalities. So I have a bunch of books here that I'm going to recommend to each person, and I would love for you guys to tell me in the comments down below if you think these books match up, and also just what your general opinions are on these characters. Anyways, let's dive into it. So the first one I have is Alexis, and so for Alexis, I chose Akatar, aka A Court of Thorns and Roses. Now, I chose this one because when Alexa was in the pods talking to different people, she said that she was a very family-oriented person, is very protective of her family, but at the same time, she bickers back and forth with her family, and they kind of treat each other like crap, but they're family, so that's why they do that. And so it made me think of Feyre and how she does anything to protect her family, but also how she bickers back and forth with Nesta. And so it just seemed like a very fitting book for her, and I think that Alexis would have a great time reading this book and find similarities between the characters and her own family and life. I mean, maybe not the whole Fae aspect. I don't think that's happening in Alexis's life. But yeah, that's what I would give for Alexis. Then we have Bartise, and first of all, I want to know if you guys. I kept calling him Bartiste and putting a T in there for some reason. There is no T, it's Bartise. But I just want to know if that messed with you guys too, and you kept thinking that as well, if you've watched the show. So yeah, I'm gonna jump into his recommendation. So what I would recommend for him is Battle Royale, and I would recommend Battle Royale to Bartise because he is kind of it seems like he's got a bunch of potential relationships and he is working towards all these different ones. But at the same time, I mean, this book might apply for everybody in here. It just seemed to fit for him as well because they're all kind of fighting tooth and nail to find love through the pods, but they're all dating a bunch of different people at the same time. And so it reminded me of how this was kind of a free for all. Mind you, this is a free for all battle to the death. In this case, they're not battling to the death. They're just battling for love, I guess. And so Bartise seemed to have a bunch of relationships in the pods that seemed like they could go somewhere and they had potential. And so that's why I feel like this one works for him because he's kind of in that free for all, fighting for what he wants, and I think this works for him. And so I think he would enjoy this book. I don't know how much of a reader he is, and this is a big book, so hopefully he can get through it. But, anyways, I also wouldn't say to go to this book for advice because I don't think this is going to be the best advice for Bartise, but I think he'll enjoy the book nonetheless. Then we have Brennan, and Brennan isn't really one that was easy for me to choose a book for. He's kind of like a cowboy-ish kind of dude, but I didn't really have any cowboy books that I have read yet. So he also had mentioned that he's a big foodie and he likes to cook. And so I chose Check Please because this has Eric Biddle in it and he is a baker. He loves to bake for his hockey team and make lots of sweet treats. And so I thought that this one kind of worked for him. This was probably the one that I had the hardest time picking one for. So if it doesn't line up perfectly, that's why. But yeah, if you guys have any other recommendations of books that are purely food related or like cowboy related books, then put those in the description down below because I feel like some of those would be a better match for Brennan. But this is what I had. Then for Cole, I chose the book Marley and Me. I read this a very long time ago, but I just think that this one is perfect for him because Cole reminds me of a golden retriever. He just seems to be like, I don't know, the way he like interacts in the pods, he's very like hard to keep concentration on things, and he will talk about serious things when he needs to, but other than that he's kind of like just goofing around and seems like a dog. Like he just seems like the type that's like playful and distracted easily. Like if you threw a ball he would be like, oh, and go chase after it. And he seems the same way like outside of the pods too, from what we got in like the little bit that we've had so far. He's just, yeah, he's very much a golden retriever. And so I just felt like this worked for him. Then we have Colleen. Colleen. Now, Colleen, I think, is probably my least favorite cast member because I feel like she is fake. I'm just gonna say it. I feel like she's fake. I don't see how like she's making interactions with people. She seems very surface level, and like I know that the show edited it so much to be like, I'm a ballet dancer. I'm a ballet dancer. I'm a ballet dancer. But anyways, that's just like a side note. She seems like she's just jumping from person to person and like thinking that there might be something there, but then other people are like, I don't know you. Like you don't open yourself up enough for us to like actually get to understand you. And so for her, I chose One of Us is Lying because I think that she is not being truthful in her feelings for said person that she's with at this point in time. Um, I'm trying to do this with like out any spoilers, so yeah. But I don't know. She's with a person right now. I don't believe it. I think it's all a facade. So I chose One of Us is Lying for her because I feel like she might relate to one of the characters that is lying. And that's the like purely the only reason why I chose this book for her, but I think it fits. I'm also curious to know if you guys also think that Colleen is lying. So let me know in the comments down below if you have similar reactions to her. Then we have Matt. And so for Matt, he's like a hard one to read. Like I feel like he doesn't open up too much or give too much of himself away. And so for that one, I chose Before I Fall because this book is centered on like a time loop. And so when it comes to Matt, every time we see Matt, I feel like we're getting the same information about him, but nothing really new. And so that's why I thought this worked because it's kind of the same thing. Like this person's trying to get out of a time loop. I feel like for Matt, we need him to show more of himself. And by showing more of himself, that will get him out of the same circle that he keeps going through. And we can get to know him a little more as a person. Now, I think that's going to happen in further on episodes, which we'll probably get soon. But as of right now, he just seems like he's like rotating the same information about himself. Like, I don't feel like I've learned anything new about him. So, yeah, I think this might be a good book for him. Okay, so next up is Nancy. And so for Nancy, I chose The Hunger Games because Nancy seems to be in a little bit of a love triangle herself. And so why not learn from the best person that was in a love triangle and had to deal with a love triangle while being in life or death situations? I think if you're going to get the information about that from anybody, you should do it from Katniss because Katniss will tell you how to make your decisions and move forward from there, getting out of a love triangle. So Nancy and Katniss could do some bonding time, and I think she'll learn something. Next up is Raven, and so for Raven, I chose Colorado Christmas Magic. I know this seems like a really weird choice for her, but hear me out. My reasoning for this is because Raven seems to be like closed off and more reserved at first, and she doesn't just let anybody get to the emotional side of her. Now, the character in this book is kind of like a Scrooge. I wouldn't say Raven's a Scrooge. I would just say that she's more closed off. The character in this book, she like does not believe in Christmas magic. She wants to go to this town because in the book they're talking about this little Christmas town that whenever people go there, they become full of like the Christmas spirit and believe in things that they wouldn't have before. And so the main character of this book, she goes to this little town because she wants to kind of like debunk this town's theory and prove to people that it's not the way that they say it is. And so she goes to this little town, ends up reconnecting with a high school love that she had, and ends up getting some of the Christmas spirit. And so it just seems like a book that might help her become more emotionally available and be not so like closed and guarded. So I thought that she might like enjoy this book and it might help her out a little bit. Then we have SK, and so for SK, I chose this book because for SK, I feel like SK is trying to be a main character, but they're more of like a side character. And so I chose The Rest of Us Just Live Here. And the reason I chose that is because this book is actually centered on the side characters or like the background characters in a book. So like say for example, I heard actually that this was fan fiction for like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And so in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, she's the main character with her like ragtag group of friends fighting evil. Well, this book would follow other characters that go to that school that are not Buffy and not her friends. They're just other characters that live in this same town and have these things happening on in the backgrounds of their lives, but they're not like the main characters. They're just doing their own thing, going to high school, living life. And so I feel like SK is kind of like that. He's that side character that is not necessarily like the main focal point. And I think for him, he needs to become that main character in the relationship that he's working towards and put himself out there and be that person that has the spotlight on them. He needs to like grab and hold that attention and also put forward like what he wants and makes it known what he wants. Like he gets his point across when he wants to. And so, yeah, I think this one just kind of like fit for him. And then the last one we have is Zena. And so for her, I chose the X Talk because the X Talk deals with some characters that are a little passive aggressive, and I feel like Zenab is a little passive aggressive based on some of the stuff we've seen in the first 4 episodes. This would help her figure that out because in this one we're following a character who is fake dating her coworker to put on a podcast about their fake relationship that they had. And so there is a lot of passive aggressive moments in this book, and it just made me laugh because I thought of her instantly. I think she could learn from this and see how this character takes those moments but like moves forward in her career and moves forward in her relationship with putting some of the passive aggressiveness aside. And so yeah, I thought this would work for her. Anyways, those are all my recommendations for the Love is Blind season 3 cast. Now, I hope the rest of the season goes well. I know we've only had those first 4 episodes, but I'm looking forward to watching the rest of that and seeing what happens. I have no idea who's going to stay together and what's going to happen. I'm just excited to find out. Also, let me know in the comments down below if you guys are Love is Blind fans, because I would like to know if any of you guys are watching this, or I'm just putting this out here for a couple of people to see. So yeah, I'm just generally curious to see how much of my audience enjoys Love is Blind. And we can definitely like fan girl, fan guy, geek out about it. So let me know in the comments down below. If you guys want to support me, I have a Patreon and a Coffee page, which I'll put in the description down below, as well as linked by my bookmarks. You guys know the drill. Don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that bell notification button so you can get notified when I post new videos. I post my videos on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Until next time, keep on reading.